Oh, yeah, I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand. The kid is hype. The kid, like I've been sitting on this for days. So we have a guest episode today. We have my man RJ, and I'm gonna start a little bit different. I still have a question now, so don't get it. It's not sweet. But one thing I just want to shout out the level. He said something that was really powerful in the conversation we just had. He said that what's special about our podcast is we bring kind of like the average Joes on and give them opportunity to shine because we see something in them. And what's so powerful about my brother is I'm looking at him and I'm thinking like, bro, you're not an average Joe.
Far from it.
That right? People like we all get looked at as average Joes until like down the road, everybody else gets to see you shine in your element. So just working at the gathering spot, this man, brother, is director of operations, manager of operations, whatever the title is, you joy at that front desk, right? So when you get to interact with this man, it's you get pulled into a moment and you get to see somebody that stands across from you and expects you to shine, expects you to have value, expects you to bring something to the moment. So like that's just wanted to say, like, that's why I had the honor of asking you. Like, it wasn't about the title. Yes, the title has you with lots of movers and shakers and this mayor and that person, but it was about you. Well, you said something dope, like, you knew Mayor Andre Dickens before and he was just Dre, and now, he's walking in, he's the mayor, and he was just a genuine person you treated with respect. My brother, I look at you that same way. I would not be surprised if 5 years down the road, like, oh, that's RJ. He was him back then, and he's him now too. Right. So just wanted to say out the gate, brother, it's a pleasure to have you on here.
Appreciate that, man. I really do.
All right. Not that I got that out of my soul. Here's our intro. Here's our intro question.
That's real.
All right. So this is in my teacher bag, and I really want y'all to sit with this one because all the listeners as well. So here's a little bit of visual to help you understand it. There's somebody called Dr. Emoto. He's a scientist, and he did experiments on water. He believes like water is a living thing that has energy, that has memory. And I didn't believe it at first, but I did this for 5 years in my classroom and it worked. So here's the experiment. He took 3 jars of water and he poured rice in it, right? You see the visual, a real teacher like. So he poured rice in it. I ain't gonna do too much, but he filled it up, 3 different jars, and he took them to schools. And for 30 days, for one jar, he said, I love you. Another jar, he said, I hate you. And the third jar, he ignored. I've done this in my classroom for 5 years. After 30 days, the jar that you say I love you to, the rice starts to ferment. Like that means it becomes alive. It starts going through biological processes. The jar that you said I hate you to, it starts to die. It starts to turn green with mold. The jar that you ignore, that you pay no attention to, it gets black mold, the worst. I thought I hate you would be the worst, but it's actually the thing that you ignore. So thinking about this experiment, I want you to think about your life and think about your words. What have I said? You can look at it 2 ways and answer however you want to. What have I said over and over again that either brought life to something, I killed it, or I ignored it and it was worst of all? And it ended up festering and destroying me without me noticing. Or you can look forward into the future and say, this is something I'm doing now, I'm saying now that I want to bring life to. Something that I'm saying that I want to bring death to, that I'm saying I hate this, or something I'm ignoring completely. So you can take it however you want to go, the past or the future.
I'm gonna hop in this thing, and I want to actually just build on your point a little bit, because one of the things that I tell my team that I work with is where attention goes, energy flows.
Yeah.
Meaning, where we put our attention is where our energy flows, and when energy flows, things tend to grow. In this instance, saying I love you to the rice, things are growing. Saying I hate you to the rice, things are still, energy is still going there, you know? So even though it's not the loving positive, it's still a form of energy, you know? Just like certain people fester on when you hate them or when you get mad at them. Like they fester on that negative kind of energy because it's still energy. When you don't give something energy, I feel like that's when it's just stone cold. You know, it's in its worst form. So it's something that I definitely try to keep in mind. And I feel like my attention shifts on a month-to-month basis, week to week, even day to day. But what I've noticed is where I put my attention and where my energy flows, things start to grow. For me, it's like my body, you know, health. That's something I think I've ignored for a long time, you know, pretty much, you know, since I was like 19 until 24, 25. I just ignored it. I was like, I'm born healthy, you know, I'm tall, things are fine. Like I was an athlete and I just outright ignored my health. I took it for granted. You know, you guys know the story. Fast forward, I feel like now my things are growing. Like things are growing, the energy's flowing, I'm feeling good, like progress is happening, but that's only because I'm putting attention on it. And with that attention comes a trade-off of other things. Like other things aren't happening the same way that my health is prospering. So I just try to keep that in mind. Like wherever my attention goes and my energy flows, things are going to grow.
That's dope. Yeah, that's powerful.
Man, I've experienced all three, but I want to touch on and speak a lot more on the ignoring piece. I think a lot of people, and this is for our listeners as well, whether it's a dream or whether it's a person, when you ignore something, it does something to your psychology, right? So whatever you're looking in the mirror, whatever's looking back at you is doing something to you regardless. And I have an experience of ignoring a dream and a calling on my life that I know God gave me. I know he did. I heard it clear as day. But I decided to ignore it for about 1.5 years because I had people in my life who were also black mold, who also were not pouring life into me, who also were not pouring life into the dream that I would confess with my own tongue, right? So it's two different type of ignorings that you have. And when you ignore it for so long, you start to step outside of yourself. You start to have an outer body experience that you don't even notice. It's almost like a clone. You start seeing yourself walking on the street and you don't even know who that person is anymore because you've ignored something that you know you were called to do. But once you pick up that momentum again, once you curate that momentum again for yourself, you have to step back into yourself, create that momentum, and start treating it like the rice in the glass, right? Start telling that thing that you ignored for so long that you do love it, that you do miss it. Again, whether it's a dream, a calling on your life, or a person. So just because you ignored something for 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, doesn't mean that you cannot pick that thing back up and start speaking life into that thing again. Start speaking love into that thing. And a lot of people forget that that thing can be you.
Absolutely. And what was that thing that you ignored? One more time.
I ignored a dream with my nonprofit and business that I'm building, Gentry Spot. I ignored it for about 1 year because I had people in my life that actually told me that nobody cared about it. Nobody would care about that.
Yeah.
That thing, like nobody cares about gentrification. Nobody cares about urban development, right? And once that person and those people said that to me, it made me check myself. Like, maybe you're right. But again, I hadn't looked in the mirror enough to know that what I heard, that calling on my life, was in fact true, right? So I ignored it because it was comfortable. And that's another thing. Ignoring something becomes comfortable because you're not putting in any sweat equity. It's easy to just lay down. It's easy to just do nothing, right? So again, to close this out, if you've ignored something for so long or even a short period of time, it's okay to pick it up. We have second, third, fourth chances to pick it up and speak life into it again.
Yeah. No, that's real. Oh man, one thing that hit me so. RJ, go ahead, because I'm about to.
Hey, listen, man, it's hard to even follow up after that, man. Y'all too, man, laying it out there. Come on now. When I think of that, I mean, I don't know how to really answer your question, to be honest with you, but what I will say is what I thought about is that I thought about like what it brought up in me is that like the ideas that I have, I tell myself this all the time, and this is something that I'm currently getting onto myself about like right now, is that, you know, if I just take 10% of what I give other people, like towards whatever they have, and put it towards my own visions and my own goals and ambitions, like I feel like I'd be on top of the world right now if I just took 10% of what I did at the gathering spot every day and put it towards what RJ wanted and what RJ had vision for. It's like, man, I can just imagine where I could be right now. So, you know, it just made me think about that thing that I've been thinking about for myself. Like, even my friend, I just told you guys I'm in the Toro business, and I got into it because of a friend. You know, he asked me to get into it, so I'm like, yeah, you know, I'll help you out. And even with that right there, it's like I just took 10% of what I was giving something else and gave it to him versus giving that 10% to myself, you know, and what I'm trying to do in life. And so, you know, that's what it made me think about. I just had to put that out there.
No, that's real. I think because all three of y'all touched on like the ignore piece. And really, that was the most powerful lesson that I did not expect. Because I'd just be in the classroom real reckless, trying stuff, pouring rice and cups and whatnot. And I didn't know if it was going to work or not. Because a lot of people say this is fake science, right? And I just believe in like spirituality. There's levels that we don't understand. And I've seen it happen in the classroom where, and I'll speak to mine, where student that gets, I know y'all feel like this in the class because we all talkers. So you also had the experience of you talking too much, RJ. You talking too much, Zuri. Stop talking, come out in the classroom. But that's still attention. You're getting energy. You exist, right? And you can shift that energy in other ways. But the student that is not seen by the teacher, by the classmates, you're not even a body in a room. It's April and nobody knows your name like that. Those are the students that end up festering and destroying themselves. Those are the ones that cycle into depression. Those are the ones that take their lives, etc. So the worst thing is you can do is have something fester. In me, it was family, right? Not paying attention to me, it's my mom, right? Taking advantage of the fact that I've been loved correctly. And I was really going in on the vision on what I wanted. Like I'm the opposite of you, RJ. I'm going in on what I wanted, right? What I wanted for the community, what I wanted for all of us. And I let my mom just be out here when I had responsibilities for her, right? I had responsibility to give back, and she almost died. She had a heart attack going through things. And I'm just blessed to have gotten another opportunity. But now that I realize that festering, if you let it, it'll create a wound that doesn't heal all the way. Because if I would have lost my mom, I would not be the same Tunji. I would not, I don't know. Let me say, I don't know. I don't know if I'd have that same light. And it really leads me into favorite failures. Because that's one of my favorite failures, right? The fact that I didn't show up for my mom when she needed me most has me, I look at that moment and it's like, okay, I'm grateful for this now because I can look at it and say, never again, never again. And now people are like, oh, Tunji, you know, oh, I love the way you treat your mom. I love the way you're there for your mom. I love the way you show up. It's because for years I didn't. Right? It's because I failed at such a high level. I can't feel that again. So it's also kind of selfish. But that's one of my favorite failures because I never want to feel that way again because I'm scared. I'm not going to lie. That's a failure I'm scared of ever touching again. I can't lose my mom on the other side of I wasn't there. I didn't try. I wasn't paying attention. I was ignoring that rice. So, RJ, I just wanted to give you the floor and favorite failures and think about, you know, we talked about this. Just what is a moment that you're like, nah, this was a failure for me, but it's a favorite now?
It has to be, it's been, it would have to be around 2014. I had got locked up, got incarcerated. I was attending Georgia Southern University, and you know, long story short, caught a charge, and I had to leave from the school. I had to leave from the school, came up here back to Atlanta and started at Kennesaw State University. Had got back in school, while I was fighting the case and things like that. So I was fighting the case outside and got back in school to make things look good. And just the backstory, like before I got kicked out of school, I was like president of this organization, you know what I'm saying, Collegiate 100. So I was a big guy on campus, especially for the Black community, you know what I mean? Yeah. One of the big guys. And so like, kind of got into that trouble, had to leave. So came up to Kennesaw State and was doing good, was growing a great name up there. And, I got actually convicted of the charge. And so I had to go and serve like 4 months of probation detention center, which I caught like a real GDC number. So it's, it's not the big boy prison, but it's a baby prison.
Yeah.
And I think that right there, Tunji, I must say, is like, that is my favorite failure of my life. And the reason being is because like, I was going to school to become I was going to school to be a middle school teacher. I was going to school to be a middle school teacher. I had the vision of me. I want to teach. I didn't even want to come back to DeKalb County where I grew up at. I didn't even want to come back there. I wanted to I was in Statesboro, so I wanted to be like a Black teacher in Statesboro or one of them country towns that don't see a lot of Black people like that. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be somewhere there to give them someone to look at, because I grew up seeing a lot of Black teachers, none but all Black teachers, all Black students. Yeah. That's all I grew up around. So, I knew we had it here, but I was like, man, I'm gonna stay in these spaces. And so when the situation happened and I got convicted, I did my time, came on home. And mind you, I was a felon at the time. So as a felon, really, you can't do nothing as a teacher with any type of record. As you know, you can't do nothing. You can't do nothing in the education field, like DUI, nothing. So like, I had to I was really down on myself because like, mind you, I wasn't, as I told you guys before, I wasn't like always the book savvy type of person. I wasn't that book guy. That wasn't me. So like my life up until like 11th grade was I don't know. It was I don't know thing. So, going up until 11, going into 12th grade, it was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna turn my life around. I'm gonna stop doing all the BS I was doing. I'm gonna stop that.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, man. And then got to the school, made that decision, messed up. And I basically reverted back to the things that I used to do and got myself in trouble. And from there, man, like I said, I came and I was able to fight that adversity. Though I know I'm a little bit all over the place, but it's so much to trying to put together that happened during that time. And this is really my first time ever openly talking about this. So please excuse me.
No, we appreciate you.
Trying to articulate this the right way. But I once I came home, I was a felon. So, I was working like construction jobs, doing construction work for some time, couldn't get a job in what I felt like I was meant to do. I felt like I was meant to do much more than I know I've always been a big guy, but I didn't want to, when I was doing construction, it was like, yo, go pick this up, carry this over here. That's who RJ was. It was like, yo, get your big stuff over here and pick this up. I was always the pick up guy. You feel me? And I didn't, and that was cool and all, but I knew that I didn't want to use those muscles. Those wasn't the muscles that I was trying to use. So I knew I had more smarts than just being a lifter. So I kind of during this time I had got onto a logistics company, and I was a dock manager there. Got a little sweet job, and I was able to shine really well there. Start working at the gathering spot part-time. And all in between that process, while I was locked up, when I got locked up, I had wrote down some things, and I still have the paperwork with me now, just to put that out there. But I had wrote down some things. I was jotting down something. I had created a nonprofit. I had created a business while I was locked up. Man, you know what? I'm a mentor to youth. We're gonna host events. I'm gonna bring out all the artists. I was just coming up with different things, right? and I had all this written down. So then by the time I came home, I had a good friend, and he was, I was, upset, in my feelings, complaining like, man, I'm a felon. I can't do what I want to do. I don't know what I'm finna do. I was just in my feelings. And he was like, man, bro, you can create a business. I was crying, making complaints, making excuses. He's like, man, you can create a business. And he just made me think about like, yo, when I was locked up, I had already done that. Like I didn't even put that together in myself. Like, I did it while I was locked up, but like put the paperwork. When I came home, I folded everything up, put it in the folder, tucked it under the bed. That was it. You feel me? It wasn't nothing else. But he was like, bro, you ain't got to depend on no school system. Like, man, you can X, Y, and Z. I was like, you right. He had me thinking. I was like, man, you know what? You make a great point. Man, I just started rambling through my stuff, found that, and I just built on that vision of what I had. So, I say all that to get back to the circle of you asked me what's my favorite failure, man. I must say is when I got locked up and I thought that everything was going down, bro. Like I was going to school to become this teacher. I knew I was going to be an education. I was a black man. I was going to be a principal in 2 years. Like I had all the connections. I told you I was a big dog at Georgia Southern, so I knew everybody down there. So I had all the connections. Like, man, I'm going to take off. Man, sky's the limit. I'm administrator. I'm going to be laying it down. And I get locked up. And I thought my vision of mentoring the youth was done. I thought it was over. And and being vulnerable, as I was speaking earlier, being vulnerable with one of my brothers. He's not even a friend, he's a brother. Being vulnerable with one of my brothers, and he kind of like just put that fire and that funk in me, like, man, you know what, you can pivot and proceed.
Come on now. Come on now.
You can pivot and proceed to something else. You hear me? So I was like, man, like it spoke volumes at that time for me. So that's my answer to that question.
Bro, what's so wild about what you said is, like, number one, the name drop is cold.
Right.
Number two, like that you said, he said you could start your own business and you had already done it. Right? You had already done it. It's like, through your failure, God sat you down. Is like, nah, this ain't where you're supposed to go. Or even through your mistakes, I got you, bro. And it made you sit down in this quiet space, redirect your own life. And then it took a friend to remind you, like, bruh, like God already set you up for the W. Like you got sat down in this space. You've architected the vision that you want to bring forth to the world. And now you want to do it. And what's so cold about this moment, like, our level of alignment, RJ, is nasty. When I think about black men and paths, you said that yesterday, you won best smile in high school, and then I want to be a dentist. I want other people to have a nice smile too, right? Because when I know as a black man, you just walking around like, why you angry? You big, like I'm big. So it's not until you smile like, oh, okay, the world opens up.
Good guy. Yes.
Yeah. Oh God, okay, I want to give other people this smile. Boy, I had the same thought process. I went to University of Georgia to be a dentist. A lot of people know me from like that. I've been saying that since 4th grade. And then my path shifted. And then it was middle school teacher. But the difference for me is I never thought I was going to do that. And then I did it. And I thought I was going to be a principal too. And I had connections. And this one dude was my fraternity brother. And I just knew that like he going to put me on. Stopped answering my calls.
Oof.
Like stopped, like just fell off the face of the earth.
Oof.
And this is when I'm back home from Georgia and I need a job. I need an opportunity. And school year already started. And I'm hard-headed. I'm like, I'm not teaching anymore. I'm getting this principal job. I earned it. And God's like, no, you're not. Sit down and you're going to find a different pathway. So when I think about like everything, just like I'm appreciative for your vulnerability in this space and just you really sharing that, because it really set me on fire. And I know outside of this podcast that I'm meant to work with you, right? That this moment brought us together for something that's going to extend beyond this 60 minutes, 45 minutes, however long we're talking. So I'm going to step off the mic and just kind of like sit within myself because my mind's going all over the place, but I'm just grateful for you. I'm really grateful for this moment.
Man, RJ, you said so many things that had me over here about to throw the table, and I had to just contain myself. And it was two things you said. First, when you said that when you left jail, you crumpled up your papers and all your dreams, right? I just want the listeners to really hear RJ when he said RJ probably couldn't even see a way out while he was locked up, but he still had the courage to take pen and paper and to really write down what he saw for his life outside of those four walls. But a lot of us, when we don't see a way out, we find all of this confidence. We find all of this, just happiness in writing dreams down, knowing that we're meant for bigger, knowing that we're meant for more. We have all of this momentum built up because we just want a way out. And at that time, RJ, you just wanted a way out. But once we step out of those four walls, and four walls could be anxiety for you. Four walls could be the same experience as RJ. Four walls could be feeling of loneliness. Four walls could be feeling of nothingness, right? Of you ignoring your dream and your calling for so long, right? But for the listeners listening, I really want you to listen to RJ's really inspirational story that if you feel like you are in four walls and whatever that looks like in your life, when you write those dreams down, once you step out of those four walls, find a friend, right? Find whatever you need that can get you on track to uncrimple that paper. Like that's the message I got from your story, RJ, that you needed someone in your life and God placed someone in your life to encourage you to look for that piece of paper, right? And take it out the trash if you got to. Go search for it, whatever that looks like in your life. And another thing you said that really had me over about to flip the table, you said that those were not the muscles that you wanted to use.
Talk. That's the one I was trying to remember. Yes.
That was so powerful. That was so powerful. And I don't even think that you know how powerful that was because you grazed over it like it was just gravy. And I just want the listeners again I'm just reminding them to pick up what you put down, RJ, because sometimes we are in environments where we are using muscles that we think we don't need. But in that time, whatever that you were physically and using your physical muscles, but what if God was really building your mental, RJ, in that environment of being somewhere that you didn't want to be? Building your heart, building your genuine compassion, building your smile. Because every time I walked in the gathering spot, I just knew I was going to see RJ smile at the front desk. But what people don't know is that you had to probably curate that smile and build that muscle of smiling instead of frowning in that environment on that construction job. You had to build that mentality of, I'm going to be in this environment. I'm going to give it everything I can right now. So to the listeners, while like Tunji said, when I hop off this mic too, I just want the listeners to really hear you, what you said. That even though you might not want to use those muscles in that current environment, think about the other muscles that you're using that you could use to get one step closer to your purpose.
And what it said to me as well is having to use those muscles shows because your body's a gift, right? And to get to use it, you're like, okay, I need to be grateful in this space. But it also takes you doing that to realize, this ain't it. All right, I got a lot of gifts, but this ain't the one this ain't the one. This ain't the one. And that's when that smile is so much greater in the place where I'm closer to where I'm supposed to be, because I know what it's like to have to use the gift that ain't the one and be grateful for it. When I know I have more to give to this world, I may not know what it is, but I know there's more. I know this ain't it.
You know what, Tunji, even me leaving, I told you guys that I was working at the gathering spot part-time. And even me making the decision to leave that full-time job that I did is based off of what you just said right there, right? Like, I was a logistics manager, so I was making, $20+ an hour. I was making good money, and I was working at the gathering spot part-time because I was working like 3 hours a night, you guys. I was loving life. You hear me?
Yeah.
But it was full-time salary. And some nights I did have to get in the truck. I had to get in the truck and drive some nights when my drivers didn't show up. And so I'm sorry to laugh, but I might have
You
caught
good.
my I might have been driving the truck one night and I called my manager, I called the boss, I called the owner of the company. I was like, hey man. So man, this really ain't for me. I didn't quit the job at this time. I was like, man, I just want to let you know this ain't for me. Like it was, and excuse what I'm about to say, but it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, bro, and I was at a truck stop using the restroom. I was like, oh my man, this
ain't
ain't my
it.
lifestyle. This ain't my lifestyle. Like I shouldn't be up at 3 o'clock in the morning in Alabama and West Bumble using the restroom in the porta john. You know what I'm saying? Like eating gas station food. Like this ain't me. You know what I mean? This not who I'm supposed to be. And so like when I had a friend that was at the gathering spot who needed help, which is why I started working there part-time, because he needed help up there. And I was like, man, I got plenty of time, bro. Let me just come up there and help you. He had been trying to get me in there. He started working there a year as the gathering spot opened. So he was there when Ryan and TK was still working at the front desk, like still bartending events. He was there in the mix of things, for real, for real.
Yeah.
So he had been telling me from the jump, like, man, you need to come on over here. Like, bro, like if this company take off, man, you can be the next him and them. You know, you can be you can be Ryan and TK in here. But he was telling me that from the longest. And I was like, I wasn't studying it, but of course, I had needed extra. I wanted extra money, so I took it. But I say all that to say I believed in the vision, and I left that other job alone because I seen what if I committed to the gathering spot a little bit. I was like, man, you know what? I don't got to be in the Porta Johns. I just might got to take a pay decrease for a little minute. But if I do what I need to do, I'm gonna be able to get to this next position in here because the opportunity is here. They growing. Yeah. They had just dropped the DC location. I'm like, man, this is a walk in the park. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I just kind of walked out on faith on there and locked in with that space, man. And it was, and I also locked into it because of what made it even more special is that place is aligned with what my main vision is for my business. Like I might have told you that before, Zuri, as well. Like the gathering spot is a beautiful space. Once again, I had created my vision while I was locked up. Didn't even know about this. So when I come here with my boy, he got me coming here. I'm like, man, yo, this is the same thing that I got going on. And what made me lock in even more is that when I was there part-time, I was giving them ideas for things to do, right? I was like giving ideas. I had told you I had a whole idea, had everything written. This business is aligned with my business. Mine is just for teenagers. Theirs is for adult professionals. Yeah. So, I'm like, yo, I started giving them ideas. They was eating up the ideas. Ryan, TK, like, yo, let's meet. This like my third weekend. I'm sitting because I was smooth on how I did it. I thought I'm like, I worked overnight. You feel me? I worked overnight. I worked 3 o'clock in the morning. So while everybody sleep, I'm sending ideas in the chat. Like, yo, this would be cool if we did this, get members to do this and X, Y, and Z. So when they waking up, the first thing they seeing is 3-4 messages from RJ of ideas on how to help the business grow. And it's really good ideas too, because it's aligned with everything that I got going on. So I was like, it only made sense. So I just felt like I say that to say, man, well, it hit my heart, man, to like, people got to just move. They got to make sure that they're taking steps on what they're trying to do and whatever it is that they see. Like, even when it comes down to my business and things like that, committing there at the gathering spot, like I seen what they was doing there. I seen how it was aligned with my vision. And prior to that, I was doing like nonprofit work and things like that already. So like, I was taking steps that was aligning me to, I feel like where I need to be. And I'm still taking those steps right now. As I told you, I'm average mojo, but I feel like the steps that I'm taking, the people that I'm meeting, this conversation that we having today is all just preparing me for what I need to do to be able to just take this thing to the next level, or whatever it is that's meant for me over my life.
What I really appreciated about the story that you told us and where I relate to you the most is I felt like throughout the entire time, really going post high school, coming into adulthood, you had a very strong self-image of who RJ is supposed to be. Who am I supposed to be? What am I capable of? What can I do in this world? Like, you had confidence. You knew you had sauce. You knew you had skills. You knew you had flavor, and you were doing it. before you got jammed up. And I feel like as young Black men, I was in a very similar position where we just find ourselves in precarious situations where we're trying to make it, you know, we're trying to hustle, we're trying to just do things to kind of elevate us or, you know, protect our place in our ecosystem. And when something like that happens, where you get jammed up, man, it rattles your self-image so hard, you know. It's those labels: felon, convict, you know, criminal. Those things get into your psyche. Even failure, or like, I wasn't good at school, I'm stupid. Like, those things get into your psyche, and they change that self-image that God planted in you. It changes your perception of yourself, and it changes what you feel like you're capable of. And I feel like that is the path to destruction. That's the start of it. You know, when you start losing faith with that, like, I'm supposed to be something bigger. And I commend you. I commend your homeboy too for helping you anchor back into that self-image. But I feel like, you know, for the listener, I know that self-image gets challenged all the time. You know, it got challenged when you got locked up. It got challenged when you got out. It got challenged when you're at a new school. It got challenged when you're in construction and you're lifting shit and they're telling, get your ass over there and go do this. And it's like, I got a brain though. I got ideas. I'm more than this job that I'm working. And I just want to emphasize the point of not giving up that self-image. You know, we are always going to have the highest expectations of what we're capable of. And it should be that way. Like, you should have high hopes for your life, you know? And sometimes you do need the community to kind of lift you up, but a lot of times you just got to fight to keep it alive. You know, you just gotta just stay intact with that. Like, I'm bigger than this, because if you feel that, I think you're going to continue to battle the complacency, because you know, there's this saying that I heard once and really hits me hard. If you don't make a plan for yourself, you're always going to fall into somebody else's. People have plans for bodies, and to the world, if you don't have a self-image, you're just a body. We're going to find something to do with you.
Yeah.
I respect your story so much, because it's just like, I'm not just a body. Even though I've been in some down, ugly positions, that the future looks meek. Like, but I'm not just a body. I'm not just a driver. I'm not just a convict. I'm not just a construction worker.
And what's so powerful, like, yeah, to connect that point of something you said, like, RJ, like, I'm just the average Mo Joe, right? And that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel you, but it's just the idea the world puts on us. Like, the reality is the average person is capable of greatness. But we look at the average person as just, you know, it's they whatever, right? I'm nobody to pay attention to. But the reason why you're sitting in front of us and you're going to go where you're going to go is you have this vision and sitting inside of you that you know you're responsible for. You know, if you don't get those dreams out of you, they may never get out into this world. Not for Atlanta, not for the teenagers. Yeah, there's a place for the adult, young professionals, but that the teenagers, those are your responsibility, right? That dream is yours. And what I think is so powerful about the journey is giving yourself the grace to get there. And also having that moment of, I'm bigger than this. It is, not only is it okay, you are supposed to outgrow great opportunities, right? Because at first, like, that's 20-something.
Say it again.
You are supposed to outgrow great opportunities. Because that logistics, 20-something an hour, you were like, Jesus, thank you for loving me. You love RJ more than you love anybody else, because I needed this, right? And there was that moment, right? Because I know it. Because when I first, because I got some opportunities, like, God, like, if you ain't show up now, I don't know what was going to happen. You sitting down 2 years down the road and you've gotten skills, you've gotten perspective, and you're like, am I wrong that I'm not as grateful? You're like, you battling with this, but you've outgrown it. And you've gotten to a stage where you're supposed to move forward. And I look at it like, if I stay here, my fear is holding up somebody else's opportunity. Because somebody else would be at that gas station getting snacks from the vending machine, peeing in Alabama, like, thank you, God. Like, I needed this. Right? And you're supposed to move, you're supposed to move forward. But like, you had the courage to say, like, nah, I'm bigger than this. And just speaking to myself and speaking to Zuri, speaking to Kamau, speaking to you in this moment, there'll be an opportunity. Like, there's a day coming at the gathering spot where you're like, boy, I'm bigger than this. And not necessarily like I'm bigger than this entity, but there's somewhere else I'm supposed to be. There's other muscles that I'm supposed to be working right now. And you got to do that same thing you did last time. Call them up and be like, hey, it may not be today, but hey, this ain't it no more. This ain't it. I still rock with you. Still hit me. I still got these ideas, but this ain't it no more. And that's the hard part. That's really what Pivot and Proceed is. It never ends. You just keep growing and keep having to look at yourself like, yo, I'm bigger than this now.
And I think that's key, man. Like, sometimes, we us as people, man, we think that we a certain level, but we're not humble enough to try to take in something from someone who might not be at that level. Like, man, I'll go to the gas station. I might not give the junkie no dollar. I might not call him junkie. I'm sorry, I apologize.
I'll be doing the same thing.
I might not give the person who's out there panhandling. I might not give them no money or anything, but I'm gonna sit there and have a conversation with them. I'm gonna talk to them.
Facts.
I might buy them some chips or something out the store, but I'm gonna have that conversation with them, right? Because I don't think I'm passing, because I feel like you can learn something from everybody and from every situation. And so I just wanted to say that, because like, you had said, like, you should be able to grow from any opportunity. And I think that's very true. Like, the gathering spot is a great space, man. It's a great space. And I learned a lot there. Like, the RJ that you're talking to right here, that you're interviewing, is not RJ you would have talked to 4.5 years ago, who was just coming out the truck, and I guarantee it. Like you said, it took some fine tuning on the smile and things like that. It took working on those muscles, as you were speaking on earlier, right? But like, it's definitely supposed to grow you, and you're supposed to get everything that you can from the situation. And that's why it is important. And this is something that I've been learning here recently, is to be more vulnerable, be more open to people, so folks can really understand what's going on, so that you can get the most out of the situation. I think that's critical, is key. Like, it's get the most out of whatever it is. Where you going to McDonald's to go get you a burger, make sure you get the most out of that moment when you driving to McDonald's to go get that burger. You know what I mean? Whatever that may be, whether you take a new route and you looking at the new restaurant that just opened on the corner or whatever, like, just get anything you can at that moment. And like, you should be able to learn and grow from everything. And that's how I kind of look at life, man. It's just like, everything is a growing stone, is a stepping stone to the next spot in life. And and everything is universal too. Like, just because you learn this over here doesn't mean that it can't be transferable over here to this skill or whatever you're doing over here at this company or whatever the case may be. So I try to learn any and everything that I can. Like, I'm at the gathering spot, man. That's how I got to the front. That's how y'all knew me. Like, I was working a houseman cleaning up stuff, but I was like, yo, how do I book rooms in here? That's what I started asking them. Like, how do you book rooms? You know what I'm saying? Then once I started booking rooms, I'm like, yo, this is cool, but like, how do I get to this manager? So I got to the manager, and they was like, yo, how do I get over there to the restaurant? Like, how do I start making drinks and stuff? How do I get to the AV and start running these events? Like, I'm asking questions and trying to get these skills. I don't even have to be on that job. You don't have to, like, I'm the type of person that's about getting the job done. So like, and with having that mentality, you always want to grow and learn. So like, I see that the front desk is good. I'm managing the front desk, and I got 3 people up here, and we good, but the restaurant's struggling. Man, let me go in here in the restaurant and figure out how to help pass out these plates, plate up these plates, and and I'm gonna just get to it. And this is a new skill that I just gained and learned that's transferable now to anywhere that I go to.
Thanks.
Preach, bro.
And to hop back in too, speaking about the vulnerability that you are speaking on, RJ, the space that you're in with the dream that you have with your teenagers, vulnerability, if not the most valuable skill that you can have, especially running that nonprofit, because you being vulnerable, how you're being vulnerable now and sharing your experience as your favorite failure, God uses everything for the good. So
Facts.
in that moment where you were in those four walls and the favorite failure that you explained, where you were just not in the best place at that time, man, like just think of the teenagers through your passion, through your art that you're going to be doing for those teenagers. That vulnerability is going to play that very important piece. But it's like a lot of people don't look at vulnerability as such a valuable skill when it's probably the number one skill for all of us to have. Because it's connection. When you can connect to someone and be vulnerable with them, you open the door, especially teenagers, especially young Black boys, especially young Black girls. So being able to open up your heart and give them your favorite failure, just as you gave us the favorite failure on this episode. Man, God does not ignore, as we were talking about earlier, God does not ignore our stories. God does not ignore any type of detail within our story. And those details start adding up, especially when you are inspiring that next generation growing up.
No, facts. That story is everything.
Mhm.
And they need it. Right. And what's so crazy is we look at it like, all right, I got jammed up, I'm locked up, I lost my freedom. But it's almost like you got clarity. There was freedom in there that you needed. So you did something wrong. God used it as an opportunity to even us, how this podcast came together. We were all in the same place. Y'all, life humbled us. I was sitting at the house. Kamau was sitting at the house. Zuri was sitting back at our mama's houses, right? That's how this came together, where all of a sudden all the distractions are gone and you really got to look at yourself. You got jammed up, RJ. All the distractions are gone and you really got to look at yourself. And in that space, what we found is freedom. What we found is a clarity of what I'm capable of. And then you get back into reality with all the distractions, and now we get humble. It makes you back small. You crumble up your paper and say, all right, let me get realistic.
Right.
Well, in the darkness is where you really found what you're capable of. In the darkness, you found how big you really are. Because now your mind was free to say, okay, who do I want to be? And notice all of us have different visions that came to us. None of us are trying to do the same thing. In that darkness, we found this path. So like to everybody listening that's sitting in darkness themselves, like let's all be like, RJ, grab out a sheet of paper and make it. Let's find out what you really cut like. Let's find out what that vision looks like. Because you can, because it's what's so dope about what you did, RJ, is, and maybe all of us, in that moment, you have an option to stay stuck on what happened. Man, if I would have did this, I wouldn't be here right now. Man, if I would have did this, I wouldn't be here right now. Oh, I'd be teaching in Statesboro. I'd be this. I'd be this. Like I would, like that's would be my reality. But it's almost like if you didn't make that mistake, this vision for the teenagers probably wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen over here. You'd be in Statesboro and you'd be a lot more comfortable in this guaranteed pathway that's easier to walk. You know, like there's a stepping stool to this. Like there's a pathway up. Like you said, you have the connections. This is where I'm going to end up. This pathway is a lot more reckless. It's a lot more dangerous. Like, I don't know how I'm getting there. Like there's a lot more faith on this path. There's a lot more, let me just put one foot in front of the other. But I think those are the paths that are way more powerful. That's what we talk about all the time. Like Zuri, we're talking about that, going out into the wilderness and carving out a path for other teenagers, a path that didn't exist before, for other young adults, a path that didn't exist before. So that's that darkness, that isolation, that part of your favorite failure is also one of my favorite failures. Like having like life sits you down, humbled you. For me, it was divorce. I'll let Kamau or Zuri speak to theirs if they want to, but life humbled me. Like life spanked me, and it was through my own actions. And now I'm sitting in the house like, this ain't it. I'm bigger than this. Like I'm a little bit older than the rest, so I'm like 30-something sitting back in my mama's house like, come on, Tunji. Come on, Tunji. And then you have to sit down, reflect, and put something in your mind and to still have the courage to chase it when life is a little bit more comfortable is why I'm proud of all of us. Like, well, now that we down the road, and it's been 4.5 years, it's been whatever, we still chasing it. And I don't know how y'all feel. If y'all want to go into any segments, I'm kind of feeling glows and grows, just for the sense of like time. Yeah, so this is the glows and grows. My glow honestly, RJ, is your story. Like you sharing like we've had a lot of authentic and genuine moments on this podcast. People really just like sharing, but this episode, there's something different about this, right? There's something different about like even the way you answered the first question. Like I don't know how to answer it, but this is how I felt, and that realness is so necessary. And I feel like that realness is your X factor, and it's just I don't even have the words for it now. But your story has put me into a different mode. Like I said, moving forward and looking forward to connecting and working with you and helping you like just get what is in you out because it's necessary. Not like selfishly, I need what is in you to get out. So like that's my glow, just being able to welcome you into this space and getting to learn from you. And my grow personally would be what I shared on the episode before the episode in the IG live, sacrifice. As a speaker, I need to get to a certain level, right? For my dream to be a reality. I have to be able to articulate a certain level of way. And I can't juggle all the things I'm juggling and get there skill wise. So my grow is I gotta start letting some things go. So the things that I need to grow and be obsessed over, I can obsess to get to the level that I have to. So that's my grow. Hopefully in the next episode, I'll talk about what I sacrificed, what I gave up. And my soundtrack to my glow and my grow, Nipsey Hussle. Slauson Boy 2 is the album. It's I don't stress out. He said, I don't stress out. I poke my chest out. Weight on my shoulders and bring the best out. You know, and he's just talking about like different moments where like rising to the occasion, where that stress is part of the game and how you respond to it. He said like Black Sam, his older brother, like, nah, like let it bring the best out of you. And that's just something I went back to. You know, I've been replaying like this week, you know, yo, let it bring the best out of you. It's a choice. Reminding myself it's a choice. Yo, let the stress bring the best out of you. Let it be you stress, the positive one. And that's me.
Hopping in. You know what? My grow is reminded me of something that you said, Tunji, when you talked about your mom and you talked about the selfishness of pursuing the dream and not giving her any attention, giving her any energy, and taking her for granted. Yeah. I had a tough conversation with, I'll just say somebody special in my life about this, you know, and I'm a very future focused person. I romanticize the future. I'm very excited. I build toward the future. I sacrifice for the future. I put irons in the fire for the future. It's for me. I enjoy the present moment. I'm happy. I'm excited where I am, but I'm equally excited about the growth and where I'm going to be. And what I was reminded of by this person was how my selfishness can be harmful. Can be really harmful. And while in my mind, you know, the selfishness is like, hey, look, it's going to bless all of us. So like, I know I got to be selfish in the moment and it's not really comfortable. But we going to eat. You feel me? Like I didn't get to this point for no reason by accident. Like I got to trust my process. Like I got here, so we going to eat. But I think sometimes we get so caught up in our own lives and our own stories and our own heads that we think like eating is the most important thing to everybody else, or our version of eating should be everybody else's priority as well. And just the conversation that like you being selfish, while I get it, I think there should be like, you need to be more cognizant of the sacrifice, and the sacrifice that you're making is me. And that shit was real. That shit hit me. I was like, damn, like, because I didn't think about it like that. I just thought about it like, you know, I'm sacrificing the time, but I didn't think I'm sacrificing a person. So that's my grow. I guess when I'm thinking about, the sacrifice, when I'm thinking about, being in the future, when I'm thinking about chasing the dream and chasing the vision, being careful about what you sacrifice. Because the people who were in your life, your support system, your cast, your family, they're not to be taken for granted. That is a blessing. That alignment, that love, that opportunity that you have to do life with those people is a blessing. And it can't be taken for granted. So that's my growth is just to be more present in those trade-offs. Because they can always be explained, they can always be logical, like it's what I need to do to get to here. But when that bill comes for that price, a lot of times we didn't realize what we were actually charging that card with. We didn't realize. The glow. I'm very excited. I got some clarity this past week on what's next for me. And boy, that shit felt good. It just felt like a download from God. I'm like, oh, good looks. Like I'm very excited for what's next for me. I feel like it's something that I never thought for myself. But reflecting on all the things that I just feel like it makes sense. So without saying too much, I'm very excited. And I just feel like to get to that point where, where you get that download, I feel like you just got to keep your ears and spirit open, like you want what you want, you desire what you desire, but you can't be fixated on the how or the process or what it needs to be. So I'm excited about that. In terms of my song, man, I've kind of been all over the place with the music. I've been listening to like Rilo Rodriguez, on some very trap Atlanta. Oh, not he's actually from Alabama, but I've been listening to that. I've been all the way out in London listening to Stormzy.
Hey, come on, boy.
Listening
I will
to
not write economy.
me and Tunji been hype on this song. Mel Made Me Do It by Stormzy. It's this London based rapper, and his mom intros the song and she's like, I will not write an economy. Stormzy is my son.
Oh.
And he's like, claim it, mama, claim it. And I love that, man. You got to claim it. So yeah, I just been hype. I just feel like the music I've been listening to for me is just like, I'm like, all right, let's get in my fucking bag. Let's go. Yeah. Let's go, Tom.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna hop in for RJ. If you would do us a favor to close out. So I'm gonna hop in right now for you to close out for us. So right. My grow and glow, I'm gonna group them together this week. And it's in such alignment with the first question that was actually asked of us on this podcast today. My grow and glow is us being able to have second, third, fourth, fifth, and 10 chances, no matter in what realm of life, whether it's relationships, friendships, chasing our dream, not knowing what our purpose is, or the biggest one of all, knowing what our purpose is and knowing what the calling on our life is in a season or overall, but maybe not stepping into that purpose fully, or having imposter syndrome, or making excuses for ourselves, as we talked about earlier, or not looking in the mirror and being real with ourselves that we see what we can do, but we just don't know how to take that step forward. And to something that you said earlier, RJ, I meant to circle back on, but I'm gonna do that now, where you said that you just need that 10%. If you could give yourself that 10%, would you give other people? Sometimes it's okay to start at 1%. 10% could be a big number for some people. And on that second, third, fourth, fifth chance, if that 10% looks like 1% for you, hey, go full throttle on that 1%, but at least you're moving. At least you are moving towards closer to what you know that you're called to do. So the reason why it's my grow and glow is because it's still an area that I can grow in, where I can limit those amount of chances that I need, but also it's a glow because I know that those second and third chances are there, and I'm able to start over. I'm able to start again. I'm able to, start fresh or start exactly where I left that thing. But knowing that it's still getting me closer to why we are put on this earth. My soundtrack will have to be Only If by Steve Lacy. And the lyrics to this song goes perfectly with this grow and glow of getting those second and third chances. Because he says, if I could travel in time, I think I would tell myself from the past that you'll be fine. So the song is really just going through a time capsule that where he is now today, if he could just look back when he was in those four walls, if he could just look back when he was down bad, if he could just look back when he had to leave Georgia Southern, that he could tell himself that he's going to be fine, that he's going to tell himself that, all you have to do is get through these moments right now and find that light. So that's definitely my grow and glow for this episode.
So the grow and glow is just something that you want to be able to grow and glow on for yourself in life, all in general, right?
Yeah.
All right. Is that right?
Yeah, the glow is like what's glowing. What got you glowing this week or this month or whatever.
Okay, all right. And then the grow is
something you want to improve. Yeah.
All right. So my glow this week has been I started working with someone that I know on the side, and it's an opportunity that's going to, like you said, Kamau, it's going, it's without saying too much, it's a good opportunity that might be able to be very beneficial for me financially. And it's going to be on top of, what I'm already got going on right now that's already secure. So, that's what has me glowing right now this week, and just hoping that, I can sustain everything to keep that moving forward. My grow is going to go, is going to kind of piggyback off of one of the questions Tunji had asked earlier in the episode, or this might have been on Instagram. I can't remember which one, but it was something dealing towards the fact of you asked me like three things. I had to give like three topics or something like that. Yeah. And I had said something about, believing in the idea that I have. And that's where I just need to grow at, is just believing in myself and believing in the ideas that I have, and just really just locking in and just going full fledged with them. That's why I want to grow at. And the reason that I said that last is the grow part, because it actually goes right along with the songs. I've been listening to like different songs this week, but there's a song by Big Crit called Believe. And that's been on my playlist. And then there's another joint that I've been listening to. I can't pronounce his last name, but his name is like Toby Ngwe or something like that. And he has a song called, what's his name?
Nwigwe.
There we go.
He like ain't he gonna try to repeat it?
Like that's the one.
He has a song called Cage Birds, and so like that song right there, Cage Birds, Believe by Big Crit. That's kind of I've been wearing those out a little bit this week right here, and just really just past month, with stepping into the new path that I've been stepping. So yeah,
that's a blessing. All together. One thing to really just bring together a few things from this episode, everybody listening, but just take a second look at the rice that you're ignoring and ask yourself if it's worth it. Just take a second look at that rice that you're ignoring, that because like Kamau was saying, that may be a person. That may be something you're sacrificing that you don't want to sacrifice. And what I really taken away from this is, are these the muscles that I want to be working? Right? Is this the gift that I really want to dig into? And having the courage like RJ to say, okay, nah, this ain't it. And then get another opportunity. I'll grow that one too. And be able to call your manager, boss, 3 a.m. and be like, nah, this ain't it for me. So moving forward, all the listeners, just want to say, like, we love you. We're grateful for you. Thank you for sharing this experience with us. Thank you, RJ, for sharing your story with us. Like, brother, it means more than you know. And everybody listening, man, every pivot you have be followed by a proceed. We love y'all.
Peace.